We received, since the last meeting, we received candidature from 6 new entities. The Israeli country government, which want to be member of the consortium, an organization called ESCSTE from, I think it's from what you said this morning. So I forget about the country, I should have mentioned over here. Tierra del Jaguar NGOs and 3 for-profit organizations, Laboratoire du Bernet, Resilient Future International, and Intact. So those are the ones who need to be approved officially by the consortium. In addition to that, I put in my presentation, but also in the document that were available, all the work that were done by the Bureau concerning all the members and partners that joined the initiative and that were approved by the Bureau. So if you want to refer to them, you will be able to find them here. Sorry, I try to pick up my document. And you see that there were 2 government authorities, 2 private foundations, 2 international and regional organizations, 4 farmers organizations, 8 research institutes and university, and 19 NGOs and 31 for-profit organizations. So we have to notice also that the European Commission mentioned the fact that they're going to join. So that will be a member, a new additional member. But when we will receive the application, then we will, I put it here, European Commission to come, but that will be the Bureau who will approve this new candidature. So we have today to approve research institute from India, a civil society member from Mexico, a government national local from Taiwan, NGO from, 3 enterprise from France, Pakistan, and that's it. That's what you have in your document.
Yeah, thank you very much. You altogether received the document about that. Are there any reflections on these applications? Any concerns? Or can we take the application as being approved? I see people nodding. Somebody against? Nobody against? Abstentions? No. Okay. Thank you very much. Then we can welcome these 6 organizations in our group of the members and partners. Thank you very much. Now, next agenda item, the activity report. Yeah, that's nothing to add. So that's the presented activity report 21 to 22 from the 4 per thousand initiative. Do we have questions to that activity report in mind? Has something emerged over lunch? Or decreased activities? So can we take the activity report then as approved? Yes, thank you very much. There's no new presentation on that. And the Bureau activity report, that's the same? Or is there a presentation on that?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as I said before, in 2022, the office met several times. Here is the composition again of the Bureau. And we can say that the members were quite often online with us. There were 3 meetings, and they validate new members and partners, the one you just seen before. That means altogether 68 new partners, including 26 new members. They acknowledge the evolution of the collaborative platform with the new functionality of the knowledge-based and the virtual fair of the initiative. The Bureau also contribute to the development of the implementation plan of the 2050 strategic plan resulting from the Delphi study. It was explained this morning, but the Bureau assists us as a secretariat in validating each steps before the electronic validation official by the consortium that we had during July and August 2022. The Bureau helped also organize the replacement of Dr. Lini Vollenberg and Professor Noor Saidoussal as STC member, and we used the roster of existing candidature. The Bureau confirmed that we could do that, and we confirmed the candidate that were electronically validated by the consortium from April 15 to May 1st to nominate Deborah Bossio and Professor Adesola Olale as STC member. Then the Bureau also learned some lesson from the attendance of the members of the Bureau and proposed that some members being replaced because they were not enough active, I would say, and then it was replaced in the same organization by another person who could attend more regularly. And then finally, the Bureau also validate the choice of the healthy soil for a healthy planet as a theme of this meeting during the COP 27. And I think that's it for the Bureau activities.
Yeah, thank you very much. Questions to that short report on the Bureau activities? If not, can we approve that report? I see people nodding. Somebody against it? No? Abstention? No? Okay, then this report is also approved. Thank you very much. And because you mentioned that, and now the next agenda item is STC, I just wanted to express my sincere thanks to Lini Vollenberg and what was the name of the other person? Professor Olale. Also from our side here, from the consortium, for the hard work they did in the past, and welcome the new ones. That's fine. Now, Beverly.
Thank you, Chair. And if it's okay, I have just 2 slides here with some points on, and I'll read through them fairly quickly without much elaboration given the time, but I'm happy to take questions. Beatrice is just bringing them up, so you'll be able to see them. But we have some the STC proposals to be included in the 2023 roadmap. And there's just 6 points here. So the first is to continue providing scientific evidence to accompany implementation of the initiative, and that includes scientific publications, but also the next scale down, I guess, of information dispersion, which is through less formal soil carbon notes that cover specific topics. The second point is collaborating the implementation plan and the strategy implementation cycle. The third, strengthen dissemination of soil carbon knowledge for policymakers and practitioners through webinars and information and policy briefs. And we see this as a very important aspect of our work in the coming year. To continue and strengthen collaboration with global and regional initiatives such as GSP, UJP, and the others that are mentioned there, and more. To act as ambassadors of the 4 per 1,000 initiative. And the final one is to contribute to the resource base on the 4 per mil initiative website. There are all papers there, important information, but we could expand that. Okay, the next slide are some recommendations to the consortium that came from the STC. Be aware of and get involved in the 4 per mil initiative strategy and its implementation. So some of these are a bit repetitive, some of them are different. Get involved in the implementation plan of the 4 per mil initiative and specifically to join task forces as appropriate. Support the development of the International Research Consortium, which is underway now in planning. Continue stressing the importance of soil health and carbon sequestration for agricultural production and contribute to an agroecological transition. Advocate for equitable collaborations and outcomes from soil carbon. And the next one, reinforce regional 4-per-mil actions, including through North-South, South-South and global collaborations. And both of those are very consistent with some themes that have been coming through the COP in the last week. Support countries to include soil carbon in their NDCs, including through lower cost monitoring, reporting and verification. Sorry to use an acronym. Support the Secretariat to facilitate funding for ongoing priorities and activities. That's it for me.
Yeah, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Very good recommendations. And if you look at the recommendations, on the one hand side shows that the SCC really did hard work in thinking them through and looking into the future. If you implement all these recommendations, that's also becoming hard work. Really a lot of work. Do you have reflections to the recommendations of SCC? No questions? If there are no questions, can we take these recommendations as approved and in that sense as work program for the next year for STC as presented by Beverly? I don't see anybody raising hands, nodding. Okay. Then we take them as approved, these recommendations, and good luck with your work. And there's really a lot of things to do, a lot of things in there. Then next agenda item is the work program for 23, the roadmap, and of course the budget. Claudia, are you doing here? You are on the cycle. Oh, okay. Claudia is already done. Something to add from your side, Paul?
Well, I just want to add what I already said this morning, but maybe somebody online joined us today. That's we now, with that cycle, if you adopt it as a consortium, will be the last, I would say, part of a wall building, starting with the strategy, the implementation strategy, and now the mechanism to implement each of the objectives. Definitely, we will have the vehicle. We know where we are going, but we will need the fuel in the vehicle first, and the second one will need the people on board the vehicle. So we provided all those facilities, but now it will be for all the global facilities, it will be the rule of the partners and the members and the friends of the 4-per-mil to act together through alliances in order to make it work. And I would say we have done an important part of the work, which is maybe the simplest one, but it will be now up to all the actors to move. And as was said this morning, an alliance can come with 2 entities that can start something. The other one may join. We will help to try to find finance through the project who could emerge, but there is very clearly no warranty on the fact that we're going to get those finance. So it needs to be a common challenge to get those new money involved. In my budget presentation, I will also show you the estimate of the cost of the wall if we want to implement a cycle for each task force. I will show you how much it may cost. So you will see that it's quite an impressive amount of money. Well, not also the same amount that the normal budget. It could be an additional part of the budget. But we need to be aware that this task will not be on track if we cannot find proper money to do it. We need to be clear. Now everything is ready. We are ready. We just call for all the funders that would like the 4-per-mil initiative, and not us, but the whole network, but also the whole people that are interested in soil health and pushing the idea that we push for several years to be a reality at the level of the field to help us to do so.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul. So are there additional questions to that what Claudia presented this afternoon? Yes, Jean-François. See a second microphone. Oh yeah, there's the second one. You can take that one.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Paul, for presenting this. No, I'm going back to something I think I said last year, and I do realize it's not easy to do, but I think it would be good to have this in our work plan. And I think we need some indicators of implementation. Implementation could be initially a request to our country members, to our regional organizations members, to try to estimate the progress made in terms of changing, let's say, soil management practices and get some improvement in soil carbon. So I will explain when presenting this ORCASA project that now we could do this with help of remote sensing. But I think it would be equally important to ask at least some voluntary countries to try to work with us on that basis. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very important point you made. What is your proposal looking at the work program? Should the Secretariat together with the STC probably work on these indicators in the next year and present for the next forum or the next consortium some initial results on that? Or what is the idea? You're nodding.
Thank you. So thank you, Jean-François, for recalling us that very important task. You proposed something very convenient last year in Glasgow. We worked together during the year to rain. That's a miracle. That's rain. So we work together to build a concept note on what could be a study that could start this work of working with the country well, we proposed that to a school in order to have an internship to start working on it, but unfortunately nobody came. So we agreed that we will do it again this year. In fact, when we will be back in our country, we will do it again, and we will push it to several schools, and hopefully we will be able to get several internships that could allow us to start, as Jean-François proposed last year, a kind of inquiries about some countries that would be voluntary to start feeding this table and start having figure about how many hectares are under agroecological practice and so on. That's what we need to know. Our starting point, and then how we can move on, and what would be the efficiency of our work.
Okay, that means we come back to that next meeting, but it's on the agenda of the Secretariat. Another comment? Yep, please come up front, because otherwise the online people are not able to listen to you.
Thank you, Chair.
And there's the camera.
Yes. Do I look good? Sorry for that. Just back to the internship. Maybe we can gain from already data shared by country to various offices, reporting to FAO, reporting to UNFCCC, reporting to other UN body, and looking at data in a matter of, for example, a country is saying that I will restore this type of land degraded in that part of my country. Maybe it should be a start for the internship, rather to asking country already to share their data they have already shared with other UN body, for example. That is my comment.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's important just not to develop new things, but to build on existing data. And there is a lot available. And you're right, all the countries, they have to report to all the different organizations and also to UNFCCC. And there are data on soil inventories and soil carbon inventories and all these things which are available. And we should make use of that. Good. Yes, please. Are you able to come up front? You're looking good.
Thank you very much. I just want to know whether there will be put in place a kind of follow-up mechanism, because most of the strategies have failed or didn't reach the goal because, there wasn't a kind of structure to follow up each partner, because I think it's a chain and every part of a chain has a special task. If we could have like a mechanism, like a structure, who can remind the countries, who can remind the partners for their duty. And I know each task should be done at a precise time. So if that is in place, that's good. If not, I hope we think about that, because I work in agriculture, and sometimes our strategies doesn't work well because a part of the chain is not working efficiently. Thank you very much.
Thank you. In our strategy, we have a dashboard, which is follow-up of all the activities and all the objectives of the strategy. So yes, it's included, definitely.
Yeah, and it's a forward strategy, not backwards. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. In fact, the idea of metrics is important, and that has to be developed early. It is important that we have a baseline situation of the work of the members on soil health improvement or soil carbon status, so that, because whether it is direct or indirect through projects in the network or outside network, there is going to be some kind of impact created by all the member organizations. So it will be good if we have some kind of baseline available today so that we can measure it tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, that's always the starting point, the baseline. I don't know whether a baseline is possible for all the members and countries.
So once again, in our strategy, for each objective, we have a baseline. And the baseline will be, of course, an addition or a global view of all the members and the partners. So it will be in the dashboard, and it will be also in the objective. So it's definitely, we need to follow that. And I agree with you. When we conceived the whole strategy, we were aware that there will be a need for a follow-up mechanism, and there will be also a need to know where we start from, to know where we go. So that's really what we already included in it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Accepted. It's always the starting point, the baseline. Some additional questions? Is somebody there? No, I cannot see all the people here. Good, then we go along the agenda, and the first point was the adoption of the strategy implementation cycle. Claudia presented. Are there any objections? If not, it's accepted. Good, congratulations, Claudia. It's not you. To all of you, the whole team. Then the second point here on the agenda is the roadmap, adoption of the roadmap.
So the FOPEMIL 2023 roadmap. I think we don't have time to review all what we read this morning, but in a few words, the strategic plan 2050 adopted in June 2020, the second version adopted this year, 2 years afterwards. The implementation plan version 1 adopted also this summer through electronic consultations. So you can go further, Paul. And on the roadmap, yes, co-facilities, global facilities. The roadmap is the work that will be done by the Executive Secretariat. So we will only focus on the co-facilities. So you can go afterwards, Paul, till, yes. So the co-facilities are the skeleton of the FOPEMIL yearly roadmap. So it's 7 co-facilities. The first is strategy. Second, governance and administration. The third, advocacy and awareness. The fourth, soil health programs. Then we have networking and collaboration, partnership and alliances. And the last one is the cross-cutting actions, which are 3. Twin regions, resource mobilization, and FOPEMIL dashboard. So let's start with strategy. So yeah, so I won't repeat, so we can move to the next. Governance and administration, I will be quick as well. So I will speak about the bureau that will continue to meet every 2 months in 2023 with all the support of all the college multi-stakeholder groups representatives. It works very well and we'll continue on that. So the STC, Beverly already talked also about it, so let's move. So advocacy and awareness. So we have 3 main strategic objectives in that co-facilities. So the C1, the A6 and C4. So as you know, we'll do our best to promote again the FOPEMIL strategy. The communication is always, I would say, wiser and more important every year. We touch new people on the social networks. Each time we have a new member, it grows our community and we grow our communication. Next, Paul. Our intent for 2023 to add something new. We think that the role of ambassadors would be very interesting. So that could be ambassadors and key opinion leaders are really persons that we should pamper and to whom we should, with whom we should work very strongly. And we'll continue the press relations, social network, and a strategic watcher so that you can find every week in the press release. So next. So, of course, advocacy and awareness, co-facilities 3, contribution to international debate on soil health. You had a very good example this morning with the presentation of Sandrine Sommer about the World Living Soil Forum in Arles, early June. You have to know that 3 months before, we didn't even know that this event was existing. And then thanks to some Lady Stella, for example, and Claire, and we had the opportunity to talk with these people and really be part. Paul was really part of the scientific advisory board and also participated. So that's typically an example of how we can grow our communication, how we can grow our outreach. Also a strong thing we would like to do in advocacy and outreach is the example that we push much further with the idea of having a soil pavilion in 2023 at the COP28 is what we did this year, the call for engagement. I give some examples from 2022 to explain what we could do even further in 2023 with really a great focus on the ministries of agriculture pushing about soil health. So we'll continue on that way and make it bigger. Soil health programs, I won't spend too much time on that, but it's working for the NDCs, natural determined contributions, and do a lot about each country, each region to push this. And that's it. So next. So networking, collaboration, still investing in the collaborative platform, which is a very useful tool. It must not be the only tool, but it's really, we are such a big community now, and it allows especially countries from the south to be part of every event, because when you cannot afford to travel, it's very nice to be online. We are also so fostering the network, and a good example is the COP, the community of practice that was funded by GIZ and led by our German colleagues in 2022 that did a great work with a lot of webinars, a lot of interactions among that community of practice. So that's something we will also push. I will give an example that we will do also in 2023 is the fair during the AU Green Week. So it's a way for every members or partners of the initiative to show a kind of having a landing page to present its organization, and also all the projects they have and all the product they sell. And usually there is strong interaction. And the idea in the end is that every member or partner of this initiative can have this page with all the information about themselves, and so to foster the interaction. There will be a point with Paul afterwards, but we have already 3 regional meetings planned for the 2 first quarters in 2023. First, the FOPEMIL Asia meeting in Feb, the Western Africa meeting in May, and the FOPEMIL Northern European meeting in Helsinki in Finland in June. But we'll have Elisa from BCAG that will talk about it, and Paul also will emphasize this. So next, Paul. So partnership and alliances, we've been talking a lot since this morning about it. So we talk about the creation of partnerships to support core facilities on the top of existing ones. The idea is to really identify, contact, and develop relationship with organizations willing to join and support its core facilities. And I wanted also to say something here today, is that the network of our network is our network. It means that if you know a very interesting organization, which is not part yet, or organization, or private sector company, if you think of somebody that you think that would be of interest for us to have them in our network, please let us know at the Executive Secretariat. We will try and reach the people. We have many examples. We spend hours in Zoom meeting with new people. We are currently in contact with IFAD. We are in contact with European Climate Foundation. We caring. We always try to find the most strategic partners to join us. It's a hard work because sometimes they're not ready to join, or they are not doing the right work to join us. So, but we have to be selective, but also very pushy to gather these people around us. Because if we don't do that, other people will do. Inception of alliances. So I will repeat what I've said this morning. Core facilities will be supported by the operating budget of the Executive Secretariat. But for coalition that will be created as of now, it will become a project. The implementation task force will lead a project, and that project will request funds. And we'll have to do some funding requests within that group. And so it will not be the budget, the operating budget of the FOPEMIL Secretariat that will be able to finance that, but there will be everything made for the group to find funds for the projects within the alliance. Next. I still wanted to tell a bit about that quickly. So when you really think, we have already quite a lot of partnerships. This is a list I made because it's interesting. So we know we have strong relationships with the French, Spanish, and German Ministry of Agriculture. We are hosted by the alliance of 2 CGIAR centers. We had a grant agreement from GIZ end of 2021 till March 2023. We have a grant agreement in 2020 and 2022 from ILD. We had a second one from CIRAD. We had the office in Paris is from INRAE. We have also offices from the Occitanie region, where Montpellier is located. We have a contract and an MOU signed with AFRIS, which is the Benin African young company supporting the collaborative platform. And I wanted to emphasize the one in green because they are brand new in 2022. So we signed with Moroccan AAA adaptation of African agriculture MOU, 5-year MOU, a 3-year MOU with OIV. Paul Roca spoke this morning. So it's an international organization of vine and wine. We signed in April a 3-year MOU with Safe Soil Isha Foundation, so Sadhguru, you saw his video this morning. And a very, very big news and good news is that we have signed mid of October a MOU with the Farm Foundation. The Farm Foundation is French. It was created, I think, in 2005. With different French companies and especially the Crédit Agricole, which is still behind them. The French Ministry of Agriculture are the commissaire of the Farm Foundation, commissioner, I don't know the right word in English. And we signed MOU after 3 months of debates about the content of this MOU between the Alliance and the Farm, and with us in the middle. So the good news about it, and I make it quick, is that it is a foundation recognized of public utility, so what we call a FRUP in French. So it will allow them to welcome funds from private companies, for example, and will be able to provide to these private money providers a fiscal deduction. But the money, of course, will be used for common project between us and Farm. So, and we have defined those common projects. But this is a very good news, and it should attract some money. And then a few, as you know, we are working with FAO, UNDK on ecosystem, the UNFCCC, CASH, and Coalition on Agroecology, and some private funders like McDonald's and Léa Nature also. So next. So when you look at that list, you see that we have already started that work since many years. And I think I come to the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Really impressive. All these different partners. If I had so many children, it would be difficult for me. Do we have questions to that presentation? Yes, Jean-François.
Yes, thank you.
So please turn around.
Sure.
There's the camera.
Thank you, Beatrice. No, I have a question, which is how do you see the long-term balance between public and private funding? Because we have to take care that this 4 per thousand initiative can guarantee that there is some independence in the views expressed. And this was also, I think, a reason why private for-profit businesses were not included in the consortium. And obviously, this needs to be checked when you look at the funding structure, I guess. Thank you.
So if I may respond, I would say that, private sector company, they are doing a business, they have a turnover, there are a lot of employees. And if they give big money, they give it through a foundation because they want to have this 60% fiscal deduction. Otherwise, they will give very few amounts of money. So don't worry. If they give money, it will be through the Farm Foundation. And it will be, as I said, very followed, earmarked by the French Ministry of Agriculture. And we have already defined in the MOU. And we will even go further because for each project, we will define another, not a contract, but a strict definition of the project that will be funded and made by the FOPEMIL and Farm. So it will be very controlled.
Okay, thank you very much, but really very important question. And we shouldn't leave the impression to the outside world that this FOPEMIL initiative is partner of some big companies in the world, and that's it. And as far as I can see, for instance, the Secretariat is 100% financed by government bodies, and the money coming from elsewhere is going directly to the farms and farm projects. And so there's a good distinction between those. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Beatrice, for that presentation. Take we the roadmap as accepted from the consortium. Nobody against it? Fine, wonderful road. Thank you very much. Then next term is the Paul meetings of the initiative.
So next year, there will be opportunities to have meetings for the STC and for also the forum of the partners and the consortium of the member. So there will be meeting of the STC. Most probably there will be one in June and another one will be along with the COP 28 somewhere. So I heard that the COP 28 will be not very far from here in Dubai, if I'm not wrong. So we will try, because there the budget will be another element interesting in Dubai to organize such a day like today and having the STC meeting over there. So we'll try anyway to do so. So the first meeting of the STC in June was accepted yesterday, be also in Helsinki, and will provide the possibility for the STC member to participate to the regional North Europe regional meeting in Helsinki, beginning of June. So that's the first place we know. And the second one, well, we will confirm, but if we are going along the COP 28, it will be in Dubai. Forum and the consortium meeting, it will be then in Dubai during the 7th day of the initiative. And for the regional meeting, that were already several times already mentioned, February, India, for Asia, May in Abidjan for the Western Africa regional meeting, and Helsinki for the North Europe. So that's it for the meeting. Do you want me to continue on the budget, or do you want to approve this proposal first?
Let's take it first. Yes, Beatrice? There's a question from whom? Elisa is online. There was a question. So floor is open to you. Please raise your question.
I had no question, but probably I can say a few words about the Northern Europe event, if this is the floor for that. Yes, I had no question.
We come back to you. We come back to you. So any comments on the schedule of events? No comments, and together with that, and we have to look at the budget, of course. Afterwards, we accept schedule of events. Now, next point is situation of the human and financial resources.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to be a little bit more detailed than this morning, in 2021, we had a budget approved by the consortium of 970 kilo euro in Glasgow last year. But in fact, in 2022, the total available amount was 411,000 euro. In fact, coming from the remaining amount from the previous year, contribution from French and Spanish ministries of agriculture, GIZ, McDonald, EVA Group, and ERD, even though we have not received the money yet, but we have the convention is under signature. So the total amount spent was 368, and with the overage, it's that the expenses that we have to pay to the hosting entity for the work they are doing for us. So the executive secretary is composed, as you already said, Mr. Chair, with civil servant from France, Germany, and Spain as a secondment, and we have a little bit of a person provided by CIRAD, evaluated to 14,000 euro, and offices also provided by the Occitanie region, as it was said before, through Agropolis International, and a little bit of INRAE also, because Paloma was based there, but she left in August. So it is anticipated that the level of expenditure will let a little bit less than 43,000 euro available at the end of this year, which is for the first time a lot less than it was before. So it means that the total amount available for next year will be a lot less. So this is the situation of the expenditure this year for all the working of the equipment of the office, and we spend almost 58,000 euro. The cost of the resource mobilization officer is roughly around 80,000 euro. All the travel expenses for the executive secretariat and the presidency was roughly 17.5 thousand euro. We spend quite a lot of money on communication and web and consultant, about the website, about the communication consultant, the IT consultant, and also the AFRIS consultation. So 134,000 euro. And the cost of the consortium meeting and the STC meeting during the year altogether is estimated at so far at 53,000 euro, with the overheads that I already mentioned. So we have a total of 368,000 euro. To that, you can add the fact that the contribution in kind was evaluated to 28,000 euro. So that we had to add those expenses, because this is money that we do not have to spend for the year. So in this context of the 2023 roadmap and the implementation of the strategic plan, the executive secretariat will continue to contribute to the implementation of the strategic plan through the operation framework, through the support of the task force also, if we can, during the first time. I will come back on that later on. Organize the statutory meetings that we already validated, contribute to develop and manage the website and the collaborative platform, develop the cooperation and contribute to the debate on soil carbon sequestration and soil health, of course, strengthen the liaison with funders, develop a regional network and organize regional meeting. We will come back on that, and develop and increase communication. So the annual budget that we would like to have next year, but we can always dream. This is my wish list. For the functioning cost of the executive secretariat, we would like to dispose from 330. For the organization of statutory meeting, 510. With the STC, the consortium, but it's a lot more than what we need, but it's better to call more than to get less. The communication action and tools, 300,000, and the core budget would be 780,000. With expected external contribution for regional meeting of 360, that's 120,000 euro per regional meeting. That's what we expect, but some of them could be a lot less. We will come back on this. So altogether, it's a little bit more than 1,140,000 euro that we could expect. But of course, this is a wish. This is a bit. Thank you. I think we will have to increase the budget of the battery. And then this is, of course, a call for funders to help us to get funds the closest as possible of this figure. But as you know, it's never lost. We can always have this money back the following year if we need. So I just try to give a little bit of picture behind those figures. These are the 5 last budget starting from 2017 to 2021. And you see that we were in between 250 to almost 400 according to the expenses that we had. If you want another representation, this is another representation of the same figure. And you see that the meetings in yellow, depending on the year, it's funny, but in 2020, we didn't spend much money on meetings. I don't know why. And the communication and consultant is an increasing part of the whole expenses. So now come to what I just mentioned before. That's an additional resources that could be needed for the work of the task forces. Of course, we will merge the two budgets, but it's good to understand why we need those two budgets. The first one I presented could be for the core facilities. This budget would be to accompany the development of the global facilities. So all the work that could be done by the task force. Of course, this budget would be ideal to help the 24 task force. So far, we are far from that. If we can start a good activity for a limited number of task force from the beginning of next year, that will be good. But we would need a little bit of money to accompany those meetings, to organize, to have people that can follow, help writing the report, help writing the document and so on. That would be very interesting, and we need somebody to coordinate, of course. But above all, we need the platform and the knowledge management system, which is our collaborative platform. So there are a little bit of budget already in my core facilities budget, but in this one, we need to have another one also. We will make a separate report if we get some money specifically for that. Of course, altogether, it's quite a consequent budget, but I would say, it's never good to say that, but I would say that if I can get, I would say one quarter of the whole budget, that will be very good. We could try to do something and continue to our activity. But I already say that in Glasgow. Glasgow last year was really the bottom, I would say. But I think we start digging the hole, and we are under the bottom this year, because the remaining amount that I will be able to report to next year is not so important. And I know how to start the work due to the Ministry of Agriculture in France, who provide us a little bit of money already, and thanks to them. But we would need more support coming from others. And I'm not talking about Spain and Germany that are already providing funds and human resources. I'm talking about some other, for instance, minister or some other company or whatever who could give us a little bit of money to continue our work. So I think that's all for me. Well, that's the rest is how you can contribute. If you need an idea to help us, don't worry, come to us. We'll provide you good list of ideas to finance. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Please, if you have got a question, come up front, because the people who are online, they cannot hear you, cannot see you. There's one.
Yes, I just wanted to ask how much for each task force would you need?
Yeah, well, roughly, if you have 120,000 euro for the whole 24 task force, roughly it would be about a little bit less than 10. That's about 5,000 for each. That will be all together for one task force. If we can have 10 to 12,000 euro, that would be good. All together in the whole budget.
10 to 12 for each?
Yes.
Okay, so I can say that France could found two new task force. Yes, on the top.
Okay. Accepted. Good. Thank you very much. No, he's writing that down, not to forget. Jean-François, you have also money in the pocket? No.
So unfortunately, no money in my pockets, but obviously a question to you. Did you ever think of having fees from your members? I guess consortium members, obviously. And just a rough calculation, 700 members, 500 euros per member, 350K euros in your budget. That's quite an amount in your pocket.
Thank you, Jean-François. This idea was already discussed several times. We had this discussion in Madrid. We have this discussion before. Yes, we are thinking about it. Just we want to admit all categories of members, small and big. We could start put more pressure on the big one and ask them to pay something. You need to understand also that we are hosted by an international organization. It means that every time we receive money, we need to sign an agreement, we need to go through a bank transfer and so on. For 500 euro, I think it's not worse. But you're right, we could think about the fact that maybe big company or big structure could help us and bring some money. But all the administrative work to get 35,000 euro would cost more than 35,000 euro. That's one of the major problems. It's a little bit like the tax recovering in France. Some of the tax were suppressed because the tax recovery costs were more than the tax themselves. So we are a little bit in that process, but we need to continue to keep the reflection in our mind, and I think we will find a solution at once. But thank you for your suggestion.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been picked up, but Paul is, I think, right. It also has risks that you may lose members, because usually, and I know it from my ministry, you have to go through all the financial procedures, including the Minister of Finance, until you receive money. And even if it's only 500 euros for such an organization, and that's not that easy. Okay, are there additional questions to the budget? Can we, Mark is online?
I'm online.
So then, Mark, floor is open to you.
Yeah, I
Question to
just
the budget.
want to say congrats to Paul and the team that they have developed this strategy implementation cycle and the implementation strategy. It's really rare. It's a very solid document, and I think it's a very good offer to somebody who really wants to make a difference to soils globally. It's a unique opportunity to invest. I just want to stress that. It's a strategy that was written by 136 experts worldwide, 24 objectives, with all aspects concerning soil and soil health. So I think if there is a donor in this room who says, listen, we trust this strategy and we want to make a major impact on implementation, this is an opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mark. Fully agree. Additional comments? I can see no flags, no hands. Can we take the budget as presented, as accepted from the consortium, including all the wishes of Paul? It's not far away from Christmas, but let's see what happens. Okay, thank you very much. So the budget is then accepted. And now we had comments from Finland on the meeting next year. Unfortunately, that meeting is exactly in that time when we have the negotiations in Bonn. So, Elisa, floor is open to you.
Thank you. That is true that it is overlapping with the Bonn meeting. Anyhow, good meeting. Good to all of you, and I'm really happy to participate this meeting online, though not able to join you live in Egypt. It has been a long day to follow also here online. But luckily, I hope that many of you are still there. And this meeting has been also mentioned already today quite many times. But in case some of you haven't been there since the morning, maybe it's good to mention one more time. So this will be the Northern Europe 4-per-mil regional meeting, and it will be in Helsinki next summer. These are the dates from 6th to 8th June. And I really encourage you to go to the website. The website is there, but if you have any problems taking it from the slide now, you can also, of course, find this event through the 4-per-mil platform. So please go through the wiki pages. And I only want to mention a couple of more things. We invite all the stakeholders to come to this meeting. So we will definitely give the floor not only to the researchers, but also to farmers and companies and decision makers. We have, for example, several participants coming from the EU Commission, and so on. 2 panel discussions, 3 parallel sessions on the second day, and the third day is only reserved for the field trips. So please join them as well. And if you are uncertain what is Northern Europe, please go to the webpage and see the country list. But this will be also possible to attend online. So I can almost guarantee that, there will be not that much limitation to the participants. So even though if you are not from Northern Europe, you can follow when the online, you can register to the online as an online participant. But one more thing about the website. Now we are opening the registration in 3 weeks. But if you now go to the website, you don't have to remember this. Just subscribe to the newsletter, and we will let you know when the registration opens. And I'm mainly in charge for organizing this event, so please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. Just send me an email. It's you can find it in the BSHE webpage, and my name is Lisa Vainio. Thank you all, and have a great evening in Egypt.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you very much for organizing that meeting. I think that will be a very important one, and you can be sure not all of the participants will be negotiators who are sitting in Bonn. There are many other people in the world who are interested in that meeting. Great.
Yes, thank you. Just to finish on those regional meetings, it was said this morning, and I give a little bit of precision about the Western Africa regional meeting in Abidjan in middle of May. It was also part of the Terry for Soil project that was mentioned this morning by Idris. And in fact, we hope to build on the fact that the soil in this area are coming from forest most of the time, and that the people are not really aware of the importance of managing this soil and soil health, because they consider that those soil will be good and a good quality and in good health forever, which is not the case. So that is really something very interesting. And also, as it was mentioned, there were by the CEO of ERD this morning, there's a meeting in Niamey about also observatory of soil, and we will have also the opportunity during this regional meeting in Abidjan to have the report from this meeting that was those days in Niamey about soil in also a different, such a little bit different context, and the need for observatory to follow them. So I think it will be a good sub-regional for Western Africa, and I hope that we will be able to get some funds to do this, because we receive already some help. The Agropolis Foundation provides us €5,000, which is not too bad for that, and we hope that we'll be able to do it. And last but not least, but that in fact that will be the first one. It was already presented this morning by Ananya, the one we will have in India, in Kanashantivanan premises. And so this one will be for Asia. We will launch the invitation at the end of when we will be back to our country. But what that is very interesting is that this one will be also almost hosted at a very low price by Kanashantivanan, and they will provide all the meeting facility free of charge. We just have to pay the accommodation and the food, and accommodation is about €25 per night, so it's not a lot. But we will need the money to have the possibility to invite farmers and NGOs from the area to come, because most of the time the country representative or the business or they will have, or even scientists, they could have the means to come. So we need a little bit of money, at least €50,000, which is not a lot to organize this kind of meeting. So I call again support for those regional meetings, because they are important in the life of the initiative and for our partners. But if we can afford to do those 3 events next year, that will be the first time we have 3 regional meetings the same year. And it's good, because the year after we will need to go to the Mediterranean area, to the Latin America area, and some other area that we need to organize regional meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul. Do you have questions regarding the regional meetings, the planned regional meetings? Maybe others have regional meetings as well, but everybody will be informed. If not, then we go ahead to the next presentation from Mark about the situation of Twin Regions project. Mark, you are still online?
Yes, I'm online. Thank you, Wolfgang.
We can hear you and see you.
Can you hear me? Yes. I will share my screen for my presentation. Is that okay?
Yes, yes, we can see it.
Okay. I don't want to be long because it's one of the last minutes of our meeting today.
If it's too long, we leave the room.
Right, they'll do that. Anyway, I start with a small image of a friend of mine, a small cartoon, small money they're wondering, and I think they call climate change the small money they use to fight their extinction. So it's just to see a bit, yeah, a bit wake up. Now, to go on that line, the scale of the financial challenge for carbon drawdown. If you take Germany, for example, with an area of 350,000 square kilometers, population of 83 million, GDP of 3.5 trillion, CO2 emissions of 0.7 gigatons, and a per capita emission of 9 tons. Now you would say, listen, how can we put it out? But if you look at the drawdown costs, if you say 1 ton of carbon to sequester, 1 ton of carbon costs 100 euros, it would be a total amount of 75 billion for Germany, which is about twice the budget we're using for defense. Not even 1.5 times the budget for defense. So it is not out of scope. So I think these are, if you look at it from a GDP point, sorry, it's BIP, it's a German expression, the GDP, it would only be 2.1%. So per person, it would be 900 euros per year. And if you compare this to waste and wastewater, it's a bit in the range, but it is not out of, you know, it is not something where you say, listen, this is financially not doable. I just want to put a bit of perspective. So I think these are rather positive figures. It's not something which is out of reach. We spent much more money on Corona and on saving the banks in 2008. So my presentation, I want to show you the Twin Regions objective, just to get you a bit familiar of how we intend to work with the strategy implementation cycle. So I tried to follow that recipe and be a bit systematic. I just want to remind the idea of Twin Regions for those of you who didn't listen to it in the past. I did a tour in Africa and France and Europe to talk to stakeholders what they think about the idea, presented it. So I want to give you a bit the feedback that I got. And I would like to present you a series of concept notes that we, of ideas for concept notes that we elaborated in our task force. So the problem is that each of our objectives is addressing a specific problem that was defined by our task forces. So in this case, it's a lack of global solidarity and collaboration prevents effective and efficient use of available resources to decrease global greenhouse gas concentrations. The required scale of nature-based carbon drawdown from the atmosphere does not match the national areas of the largest emitters, for example, Germany. In contrast, the global south cannot realize its sequestration potential due to poverty. And I think this already shows the limitations of the two sides. Our objective is to establish a Twin Regions concept to boost soil health and climate action. Now, the target for 2030 is that we have it adopted by 20 communities by 2030 of Cap-Promil partners, and 2050 by all countries participating in Cap-Promil. Now, the activities, each objective, we have defined key activities in which we have to invest to reach the target. So in the case of F1 of Twin Regions is we need to better assess the potential of the regions in terms of mobilizing funds, but also in terms of sequestration. Second, create guidelines for project development. How do we develop twin region projects, launch pioneering projects, and develop a transparent MRV system. So just a reminder of the idea, this was the graph that I looked at in 2019 when I had the idea. I said you have the high emitting countries to the left and the low emitting countries, regions to the right. And I said, why don't we flip this and match Africa, for example, with the ones on the left? And so we can balance the two sides, the countries with a big population but low emissions, and the countries with a small population, high emissions. So that was the basic idea. If you look at this for Africa, since 1960 to 2019, Europe, only the European Union countries have emitted almost 200 gigatons, whereas Sub-Saharan Africa, without South Africa, yes, just Sub-Saharan Africa, has only emitted 30 gigatons. So the depth is clearly with European Union. If you look at the distribution of land and wealth, you have the area, which is 20 million square kilometers in Africa and just 4 million square kilometers in Europe. Wealth, it's the exact opposite. So you see already the complementarity. If you look at this as an example, for Bonn, Kwanda versus Bonn. Kwanda is a community in Benin. They're about 30 times larger in size than Benin, which you can see on the top. You already see the difference between the two. And you look a bit at their GDP per person, it's about 1,400 per year for Kwanda and 80,000 for Bonn. Now, if you look at the emissions, it's roughly about 10% what Kwanda has as Bonn per year. And not even it is less than 10%. It is about 2% of what Bonn has, 1.5. So it would be a situation with a perfect match. Just to give you this is the basic idea behind twin regions. Yes. Now I'm not going to read this out to make it short, but I made an exploratory tour and informed, talked to stakeholders in communities here in Benin and in Germany, France, and Le Foll was nice, and he invited me to Bretagne to present it in Hueglo. So, and then in Bonn, of course, I had my friends and I visited everybody and talked to them. So the thing is, in Benin, I was amazed by the organization. They invited me, the mayor was present, all stakeholder groups were represented, and we had a meeting with 20 people twice to discuss the idea. They were very open, very helpful, very positive and proactive in addressing ideas, questions like, how do we share the money? How do we assure that we really draw down carbon? How do we organize? So they were very specific. And also what I found, they were very highly aware of the urgency of the matter. The mayor said, listen, we are at the doorstep of the desert. And but of course, little action apart from a few projects from abroad because of a lack of funds. The situation in Europe, I found it very difficult to get access, apart of course from Le Foll, but even him, I couldn't meet him in Le Mans at the mayor's office to discuss concretely. So, and in Bonn also was very difficult to get access. So people are very busy. Yes, they're positive about the idea, but they say, listen, we already have other things going on. It's difficult, it doesn't match. And what I always saw is, I had a sense that still in Europe, people, although we saw the smoke in the skies in Bretagne during our meeting, we had some forest fires in Bretagne during that meeting. There is no real sense of urgency or guilt about these 200 gigatons of carbon. And the focus is mainly on emission reduction, but not on carbon drawdown. Yes, so it's still very much somehow it will be enough to diminish. And I must say that investments into climate change mitigation are very small, like the red already saw, as compared to other areas. Yes. Now, I had a test meeting with my F1 members, was very interesting. It was a 1-hour meeting, and they come up with a list of ideas for concept notes on which we agreed. The first one is establishing guiding principles of twin regions. The second one, assessing the relevance of the approach with stakeholders and communities in Benin and France. I did that already partially. I have contacted Alfter, a community next to Bonn, and Copago, and I tried to marry the two. The same for Bonn and Kwande. So we have people there who will work on developing these partnerships. Establishing a collaborative funding scheme, so more kind of a crowdfunding scheme for carbon sequestration in twin regions. That is an idea that we have. We have many people that say, listen, we're willing to pay. People who have more money, and you must know Bonn is a very rich community with a GDP of 80,000 euros per year per capita. It's very rich. And there's many people actually saying, listen, we would like to help. So we want to address this. And then lobbying for support from politicians. So develop policy papers. Sorry, there's a page missing. Promotion of twin regions through the web. So we'll have a platform, social media and press. So we're going to do that. And remote sensing, assisted monitoring of biomass for twin region carbon accounting. That is a research project that we think we might do with SIAT and ICRAF. So Konrad Egenolf, who used to work with us, he's interested in taking the lead on this concept note. And the last one, and this is my last line, is a research on fair sharing of costs for carbon sequestration. Especially in Europe, many people say, listen, Mark, our personal, we cannot afford. We're living on a very small income. You've seen the riots in France with the Gilets jaunes and others when prices increase. So they still find that there are a lot of households who find it difficult to mobilize 100 euros per ton of carbon they're emitting. So we surely say, listen, we must do some research to see how do we share this burden. Okay, thank you. That was a bit my update on it. So thankful for all questions coming in, and please join Task Force F1. We're now present at about 30 people, but always welcome to join. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark, for the presentation. I'm just looking around. Are there questions to what Mark here presented on the Twin Regions project? It's right on the way, but still not finished. And I say thank you very much, Mark. And we're coming to the last presentation for today. Is it Jean-François or Susanne Reiners? She's not here. Jean-François.
I'm online.
She's online.
Yes, I'm online.
Who's doing
so
what?
I just want to say hello, but Jean-François is there. He'll do the presentation. But thank you for having me also during that session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Jean-François, Marcus.
Yes. Hello, Susanna. I think you are very patient because we are extremely late, I'm afraid. So it's a bit a challenge. No, we are not so late. No, okay, sorry for this. It's a bit a challenge for me to be presenting the last talk of this meeting on also behalf of Susanne Reinders, who is the coordinator of this Orcasa project. Next slide. So you may remember we had a first project, and some of you are aware, which was called Circasa, and it was about creating the vision about a soil carbon research consortium, really an international research consortium on soil carbon. And you can see here the various regions of the world associated. We had partners from several countries, and well, I would say all continents were concerned. And some of your organizations were also on board, and thank you for this. Next slide. Next slide. Sorry, I don't know who is managing the slides. Okay, sorry, thanks. Yes, one output of this project was a first strategic research and innovation agenda. And please see that this agenda was limited to the agricultural soils. So our vision in that shared agenda, which results from a rather extensive consultation process, both with scientists and stakeholders, is that we have 4 pillars needed. First one is, I would say, rather classical. It's about research. And we still have some unknowns in our understanding, and we need to make progress. The second one, I'll go back to this, is fairly important. It's really a roadblock for scaling out the soil carbon issues, both for conservation of soil carbon and for the soil carbon sequestration. It's about how will you monitor, report, and verify the changes in the soil carbon stocks. The third one, it's about how are you going to also unlock some of the changes that are needed by developing innovation. So, for example, when we talk with some of the farmers and some of the extension services, we realize that they don't have the right machinery. Maybe you need really innovation in this. Maybe you need innovation. We heard about this, about understanding in the soil life and soil microbiology, and so on. And the next one, it's about how can you create the right enabling environment. So basically now we are changing a bit the agenda, because now we are moving to a project which is ORCASA, which is dealing not only with the agricultural soils, but with all land use types. So basically you may have the rangelands, you may have the forest soil, even the urban soils are part of the agenda. So we are looking into the extension of this roadmap, and we have this roadmap where you see that we hope to launch the International Research Consortium. We should launch it next year in 2023, and it will be fully operating by the end of ORCASA. Next slide. So at the time of CIRCASA, yes, you can add the different bullets here. Sorry, at the time of CIRCASA, we had developed already a vision, and we had already a number of partners. Around 370 organizations were interested, which is quite a lot. And now we are also developing ORCASA with support, obviously, of the FOPROMEL, but also of, let's say, the European Mission Soil Deals, European Soil Observatories, the Global Soil Partnerships, the Global Greenhouse Gas Research Alliance, EJP Soil, FACE JPI. So it's really a joint effort with several, and this is obviously a European funded project. So it's very good for us also that Commission joined the 4 per million initiative officially. Next slide. Thank you. I will not detail this. You have the work packages, you have the partners in charge of this. Maybe we move to next slide. And the first thing we want to do is, as I said, to extend the strategic research innovation agenda to the other land use types, and obviously to revisit the agenda for CIRCASA. And that's something that will start soon. And we will have also a governance in place for the launch of the International Research Consortium, the IRC. And let's have a look at that governance in the next slide. So what we need is have a steering committee, obviously a general assembly of the members. We will have regional nodes, but we need a steering committee with representatives also from funding organizations and elected members from the General Assembly. We will have also an advisory scientific committee, and it could well be that we can have this role for the STC of the 4 per 1,000 initiative. We have been discussing this internally in the STC. Nothing is yet decided, but it could be a nice perspective. And we will have obviously the need for a secretariat that is initially at least ensured by the ORCASA consortium, which is already funded. Okay, let's move on. Next slide. Part for the research pillar is through funding agencies, the French National Research Agency, that is going to structure some funding. And for instance, we have already a proposal for the Belmont Forum. Belmont Forum is an international consortium of research agencies that could actually help fund international goals. But there are some other pathways that the French agency is also knowing quite well. Next slide. And I'd like to expand a bit on this need for harmonized monitoring, reporting, verification system. We all know that this story about keeping the carbon integrity while developing economically this carbon storage in agriculture and for other land uses, or also organizing payments for ecosystem services and conserving the soil carbon where stocks are high, requires some international standards. If you do not have such international standards, you would end up having very contrasted systems, some of them being weak in terms of carbon integrity. And it could be that all that story about payments about ecosystem services would be really weakened by this questioning of carbon integrity. On the other hand, you cannot have systems that are too expensive for the farmers, so you need to find the right compromise. Next slide. I'm not entering into the detail because that's a bit the scientific part. Let's go to the next slide. Something blocked. So you want me to comment the paper we published? I see. I know, here it is. Sorry. No, we went back. I don't know. I hope we can see the next slide. Yeah, because I like it. And it's not my work. It's a work from colleagues, especially in Toulouse, working with CNES. And this is, to me, quite an impressive product because it shows that you can have estimate of the neat CO2 flux from field to country scale. What you have here to the left is a balance in terms of annual CO2 uptake or loss. And it's a balance that is obtained by having the vegetation cycle, so the land cover, and having estimates through models constrained by the remote sensing of the neat carbon dioxide balance of the vegetation and hence of the carbon input to your soil. So if you combine this with, let's say, farm data, like are your crop residues staying in the soil or are they removed or burned and so on, you can get to estimates. If you have the soil data and the climate data, you can get to estimates of your neat carbon storage or loss. Next slide. And actually, remote sensing can provide you with estimates by crop species, like these are some of the main crop species in France. And I won't detail, but you can see regional contrasts. And for instance, it appears that the maize or corn is quite high in terms of this neat uptake in Western France in the years that was studied. Next slide. So you may think this is over-ambitious, but possibly not, given what's happening with all the funding in those areas in terms of the research. We could offer some products at global scale. And we are testing this, in fact, with a small grant. And we are testing this, as you can see, in some areas in US, in Brazil, in Senegal, in Australia also. So very contrasted areas worldwide to test if the methodology could work. Certainly, that's a sort of long-term vision. It will not happen in the short term. You need a lot of work from several teams, and that's the reason for the IRC to calibrate all this to local situations. Next slide. And another part, which is WP5 of the ORCASA project, is to improve the way we share the research knowledge and the science knowledge and bridge it with the practices. So I think here we will need to talk about what you have with community of practices to make sure there are good synergies and no duplication of efforts. Without entering into the details, we are working with partners that has a very strong record in terms of data visualization. They did this for forest, for instance. And I think this platform will come with some available access, for instance, to these changes in soil carbon, but also to several tools that can be used in the context of soil carbon research and innovation. Next slide. Mhm. Okay, we are getting towards the end. And here you see it's very important. We have regional nodes. And thank you to some of you that are involved. I can see Beate being here for Embrapa. In those regional nodes, we have regional nodes in different world regions. And here again, they will help structuring this international research consortium and let's say act as the leaders for the regions in structuring the research and innovation community. Next, and I think it's the final one. Can you go to? Whoop. Yes, just one slide, and you have here the contact of Suzanne Reinders at inera.fr, coordinating this project. So please be aware you are welcome to participate in this project and obviously to bring support if you can. But participating is really open because I think it can be greatly helpful to have your views. And also you can shape the project in this way and get the most from the products we will be developing. So with this, thank you so much and welcome questions if any. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. There is a question. Can you please come up front? Then all the people who are online can see you as well. And you can take my microphone. Batteries are getting tired.
Well, this is a question and a comment, and I'll be brief. First of all, my name is Seth Ipscan with Soil for Climate. We were one of the initial civil society members to join 4 per 1,000 in 2015 in Paris. So it's just an honor to be part of the organization, and it really gives me a lot of hope. And I want to give a shout out to the officers that are keeping it going. About this particular presentation that I just saw, I was very inspired by it. And the question and sort of a larger discussion is about remote sensing of carbon and other indicators. For example, water, moisture, surface moisture, ground cover, temperature, the temperature throughout the day. I do a lot of work in the bareland systems, you know, like Southern Africa, Kenya, Tanzania. And the unhealthy, depleted land will get very hot during the day and then cold at night. And the healthier land will just keep more. It's interesting, over a year, the average might be the same, but you don't get these extremes. And so there are a lot of indicators, and I would like us to be keeping track of all of them, so it isn't just like a carbon focused organization. And I think we can have a lot of services, because ultimately I think the economics are going to move to a whole suite of indicators. And I think there'll be sort of value for this whole spectrum of ecological indicators, not just carbon. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think I will take it more like a comment because I fully agree with you. And, you know, this is a given project. It is focused on soil carbon. But in fact, we are discussing this with other issues like looking at the landscape structure, looking, as you said, to the climatology and the soil temperature and so on, or the water, extremely important. All this, I think, needs to come together. But in a single project, maybe you cannot achieve it all, but it's a contribution to something, as you said, we see very much in the spirit of what was said earlier, of being a convergence between the climate challenge, the biodiversity challenge, the land degradation challenge, and obviously the food security challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's another question. Come up front, join us here.
I have Jean-François.
There's the camera.
Okay, I have to
Look
turn
into
my
the camera and everybody can see you.
Okay, thank you, Jean-François, for this presentation. My question is, why you're using only tier 1s and not tier 3? Because the tier 1s is the most easy one. I think is by default, and instead of tier 3, it's more accurate, I think, because you are taking in consideration national values and also.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you keep your answer brief? Because we are not in a
sure,
scientific discussion here. We are in the consortium meeting.
No, exactly. And yes, I agree with you, Abad. And this is, I think, something where I went too quickly because I showed some slides where actually it is at the level of tier 1. But if you do combine it with farm data reported by farmers, like how do they manage manure, crop residues, then you can really get to tier 3. And this involves, in fact, the modeling combined with the remote sensing, the soil data, climate data, farmers data. And I think I can tell you that for arable croplands in French conditions, we have estimates that over 3 years, we can get an accuracy of about the uncertainty on the estimate of the soil carbon stock change is around 30% with the methodology. And we reported this to ministries and so on. So you can argue that's not so good, but there are not so many possibilities. And I think that's still the best option we have.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just looking around, some more questions online. If not, thank you very much to both of you, one person online, the other person in the room, for preparing that presentation. And before we come to an end, Paul, you wanted to announce something?
Yeah, it's not an announce. I would like to get the approval from the consortium for an extension of the present president and vice president. I didn't put that at the agenda, but in fact, Gabriel Bastien was not available for a large part of this year due to health problem. And I think it would be fair to let her a little bit of more time to recover before taking the presidency of the initiative. So I would recommend the consortium to extend the mandate of the vice president and the president for 1 year. It means Stéphane Le Foll will stay president for 1 more year. Gabriel will stay interim president, vice president for 1 more year, and Ibrahim Mayaki, vice president, out. I don't know how to say that. Well, going out, vice president for 1 more year. If the consortium can agree on that, that would help me a lot.
So the most important things always come at the end. Question to you before we say yes or no. Did you ask them if they like to do this? Good. So not that we decide about them and didn't ask them. Do you agree to that proposal? I mean, they are doing a good job. Unfortunately, they are not able to come here, but nevertheless, it's important. And I see people nodding, yes, okay, that's approved. And yeah, best wishes to Gabrielle also that she recovers soon. And then let's see next year if she is able to take over. Okay, thank you very much. Are there additional points coming into your mind? If not, now I don't take my 1 hour final speech. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. Thank you to the Secretariat for doing the hard job. And thank you for accepting what the Secretariat did in the past and what the Secretariat shall do in the future. And the same with the SCC, that everything was accepted. That's fine. And that shows to me that the work which has been done and which is planned, that's on the right track. So with these words, I'd like to conclude this consortium meeting, and I wish you a good trip back home, if you go back home. If you go to a holiday, good holidays. And I think we will see each other then at latest next year, but there are several meetings, as we heard, where we also can meet. So have a good time. Thank you very much. Oh, I forgot to mention our technicians and all the batteries. Thank you very much to those. And I think at the end, everything worked well.